Hi, I'm Justin, and this is the Toronto Gamer board game review. Today I'll be reviewing Dead of Winter, The Long Night. Dead of Winter, The Long Night is a standalone expansion for Dead of Winter from Plaid Hat Games, a semi-cooperative game for 2 to 5 players about surviving a zombie outbreak, where players work together to achieve an overall goal in order to win the game, as well as having to achieve their own individual goals. That is, unless you are a traitor. One of the key elements of the Dead of Winter franchise is the Crossroads cards. These are cards that describe a situation that, if it happens in-game, gives players a choice with consequences that could be positive or negative. Depending on the goal you select for your game, the overall end goal will vary, and so will the length of the game. The Long Night expands on Dead of Winter by adding 3 new modules to the game. Improvements, ways to improve your base colony and help your survivors. Bandits, which adds bandits that can impact things like zombie count and item supplies. And Raxon, which adds a new location, a selection of special zombies, and a number of high-powered items. If you played Dead of Winter already, the rules are essentially the same, aside from a few small changes, and of course the new modules. As with all of our reviews, we won't be delving into the rules in any sort of depth, but there is a link below, just down there, where you can check out the rules and information for yourself. Because it's meant to be an expansion that can also be played on its own, The Long Night comes with all of the basic types of components from the Dead of Winter base game, such as the colony board, location boards, character standees and cards, zombies, tokens, etc. I mean, there are a lot of components in this game. One nice element is that they have upgraded the location cards from the glossy paper of the base game to actual cardboard. It's a nice touch, not necessary, but it is nice to have. The Long Night comes with all new characters, including a monkey, new Crossroads cards, including some with adult themes you can choose to add or take out from the game, new item cards, and all the components from the new modules. The artwork lives up to the great quality of the base game, and the style works well to keep it feeling realistic. Well, as realistic as a zombie outbreak can feel. As an expansion, you can combine the components of the base game with The Long Night, and there are some players online who've discussed the best way to combine elements like the items deck and Crossroads cards, because Plaid Hat hasn't really put out any explicit instructions on how best to do this yet. It's not necessary to combine the base game with The Long Night, because it is meant to be played on its own, but it's also an expansion, so you can do that. Honestly, though, after playing it, I don't know how much more you would get out of combining the base game with The Long Night. You get a wider array of characters to choose from, a bigger Crossroads deck, but sometimes that's actually a bad thing, as it further dilutes the chance that situations you're going to encounter will come up. And often it can also mean some less specialized and actually weaker item cards, depending on how you mix them. Plaid Hat has also released an app with further Crossroads cards for the base game that, of course, can be used with The Long Night. As far as I'm aware, though, they haven't updated that specifically to include cards that would affect characters from The Long Night and situations there. The link below, where I mentioned the rules earlier, will also connect to information on the app. The theme, of course, of Dead of Winter: The Long Night is zombie outbreak, and so many board games work within that theme. Dead of Winter, though, has always been one of the better games to incorporate the zombie theme into its gameplay, with the focus on survival, on strangers with differing goals being shoved together, trying to survive, with the random acts of life via the Crossroads cards. The Long Night continues this, and while the Raxon module may stretch the realism of the theme a little bit, what with experimental super zombies and supercharged pills with effects, the Bandits module is a solid addition when it comes to theme, because who wouldn't expect looting to happen in a zombie apocalypse? While technically The Long Night is a standalone, that's primarily because it duplicates materials from the base Dead of Winter game. When it comes to playing the long night without the new modules, aside from a couple new rules like voting to prevent a player getting the first player position, a slightly new noise mechanic, new explosive barriers, things like despair tokens, you're basically playing Dead of Winter, and Dead of Winter is an incredibly solid and interesting co-op game, often hailed as one of the best in the genre. Tough decisions, competing goals, great trader mechanic. When it comes to the base game, the Long Night is just as good as you'd expect. The new modules, however, aren't necessarily as tight as the base game. Now, as a caveat, because you can add or subtract the three modules in any way you wish, I haven't played the Long Night in every single combination, so these are my impressions from playing with two or three of the modules in play at a time. In a game with a shorter goal, I found that there really wasn't enough time to explore some of the modules and really dig into what's new, because you have to bear down on the primary and individual goals so much. You can't always pop out of that to play around with the new modules. The improvements module is a nice little addition and doesn't seem to impact the game too strongly either way. It can help you a bit, and the effort required to build improvements doesn't extend the game or impact your ability to meet your goals too much. In that sense, it is a pleasant addition, but it doesn't feel essential. The Bandits module can have an impact on your gameplay. Bandits take up space on locations, they bring more zombies in that you have to deal with, and they routinely steal items from locations that you might need. It's a nice way to increase the difficulty a little bit, and as a bonus, an exiled player can even become leader of the bandits, which is one more fun thing to do if you're voted out. The Raxon module is the most exciting and complex module. It involves a new location where you can dig through a deck of highly powerful items, take pills that can affect your player either positively or negatively, and adds a new action where you and your team have to discard dice in order to prevent more difficult, specially powered zombies from spreading to random locations. This is the module I was most excited about, and sadly, I felt a little disappointed by it. For example, in one game we played, players were getting a significant number of items from this high-powered deck, and all of the additional actions on these items, like killing zombies for free or grabbing additional cards on searches, extended player turns to the point that the game really started to drag. The special zombies were cool in theory, but didn't seem to come out all that often in practice if you do actually spend your actions to prevent them coming into play. So you don't really get to see what the special zombies bring to the game unless you make suboptimal decisions. And because most goals don't involve the Raxon location, because it's a module you can add in or add out, going there is often a deliberate step away from the action that you need to complete just to possibly get a cool weapon. So again, it doesn't feel like an essential part of the game. I don't believe expansions should feel necessary. You want to feel like you are able to play a full and complete, well-rounded game with any base game. But I always enjoy when they're implemented in ways that make them feel like they're an organic part of the game when they are implemented and not just tacked on. In this sense, the Bandits and Improvements modules succeed more, possibly the Bandits in the best way, as the improvements have such a small impact. And that's disappointing, as the Raxon module is the one that, from the outside, looks the most exciting and adds the most new material. I haven't quite found the best balance yet in terms of which modules to play, which game lengths, and how best to combine cards and goals from the base game into the Long Night, so perhaps there are better ways in how I've played thus far to enjoy the Long Night. That said, I feel a good expansion, or set of in this case, shouldn't require so much tweaking and trial and error to find out how it works best. At the very least, more instruction from the manual about optimal ways to combine modules, game components, and goals would be helpful, and in time you may actually find other players sharing this sort of information on Board Game Geek or other places online. Overall, I really love Dead of Winter, and that's my issue with the Long Night. I'm still not sure what exactly the modules bring to the table that truly integrates with and complements such a tight, solid, and enjoyable base game. I feel like there are great things in the Long Night, but they're either buried or too much on the sidelines of the core game. That said, I'm still going to play it and experiment with the modules, with game lengths, with components to find the balance that works for me. If you don't own Dead of Winter, I would certainly recommend buying The Long Night because you get an incredible base game and the extra modules you can choose to play or not play. If you already have Dead of Winter, it's a tougher sell. Because Plaid Hat decided to do this as a standalone expansion, The Long Night is priced the exact same as Dead of Winter. Sure, you get some improved components, but nothing in the base game was of poor quality. And I don't know that the new modules, characters, and cards are that great to justify paying exactly what you already paid for the base game. If they did release the new components and modules in an expansion-only format and made it, I don't know, at least $20 cheaper, I'd feel much better about recommending it. But as it stands, I don't know that you get a full game's worth of extra materials and enjoyment if you already own the base game. Regardless, Dead of Winter still stands as a high point in the co-op and zombie genres, and no matter what you decide to use or not use in The Long Night, there's still a fantastic game at its core.